the Nikon D3s, one of Nikon's most legendary and iconic cameras of all time. I have one in 2020, and this is why you should buy one. What's up, y'all? It's a Project Photography back with another video, and the Nikon D3s is about 10 years old, but it's still the same amazing camera it was. And this is one of the professional cameras that Nikon came out with that absolutely blew the market away. When people saw this camera, they thought, wow, I want one of these. And professionals looked at this camera and saw reliability and amazing output at a time where that necessarily wasn't always the case. You couldn't necessarily rely on digital cameras all the time, and this really flipped the switch. And it's still a great camera in 2020, and I want to give you guys some reasons why you should pick one up, and the reasons why I still use it even nowadays. So just to give you some context, I bought the camera in relativity to my Z6 because I thought, hey, I need a second body. It's always good to have a second body on you, whether your first camera breaks or if you're doing a shoot where it requires you to have two bodies, say events, weddings, and so on. So picking up a D3s was almost a no-brainer. For me, it was between the D500 and the D3s because I found this thing at an absolute steal. To me, I went with the D3s because I wanted something that was professional looking, that really gave you the reliability and confidence that I feel like you need in a camera. You want to be able to trust it to do its job, and you don't want to feel like it gets in the way. This thing gets out of the way and really allows you to focus on what you really need to focus on and lets you just shoot away. I touched on one of these aspects before, but one of the main reasons why I bought it was reliability. This thing is absolutely reliable. When you take this thing out to a shoot, you know you're gonna get back with not only sharp images, but you know you're gonna get back with amazing clean images. You know that everything that this camera produces is absolute butter. Straight out of camera files in this are absolutely incredible. And that in conjunction with reliability is definitely a huge bonus and a huge reason why a lot of pros pick this up. Pro cameras in general are something that pros get because they feel like they need something that is going to suit their needs, and I think this suits a lot of people's needs. This shoots at around 9 frames per second, and you might look at it and say that's kind of outdated, but in reality 9 frames per second covers a lot of the types of photography that people need. And I use this for baseball photography mainly, and I really don't feel the need for more and more frames per second. But I think a big part of the reliability argument is the fact that the autofocus is still incredible, guys. Like, the autofocus on this still works insanely well. I shoot this thing in dynamic area AF, continuous, 21-point autofocus with 11-point selectable. And with that kind of setup, I'm able to get around the autofocus selection really quickly. I'm able to never miss a shot. I mainly use the dynamic area AF over the 3D tracking because I want to be able to control where the camera is focused on. And with dynamic area AF, I just feel like I have more confidence to know that my subject is going to be in focus and I know exactly what I'm focusing on. But the autofocus in this camera is a reason why a lot of pros came to Nikon. They saw the autofocus in this camera that was absolutely insane. They just thought that it fit right in with their workflow and added to that reliability aspect. And the autofocus has not slowed down since. And in 2020, we see the likes of Sony, we see the likes of the Canon 1DX Mark III, and we see that these have incredible autofocusing systems. But I think we forget that these old cameras still autofocus insanely well. Like, I feel I have a pretty good hit rate. I don't feel like I'm missing shots, and that's the main thing. You want to have the confidence and trust in your camera that it's gonna do what it has to do and be reliable in the process. So that's a big reason why I picked this thing up. Things really haven't changed that much since 2010. Like, things aren't necessarily getting faster. Camera technology has gotten better, but that doesn't mean that old technology still isn't good. You're getting a professional body at a lower cost, and that's really what it boils down to, and really reason why I bought the D3s, because you're able to get a professional level camera at an affordable price, and that is insane to me. The D3s is one of those cameras that's timeless, I feel like. Like, you're going to be able to use this in 10 years and it's still going to operate the same. You're still going to be able to have reliable autofocus. You're still going to be able to rely on it as a camera and still going to come out with amazing files. Now, another reason why I love this camera is because it has amazing output. Now, output to me is one of the most important aspects of a camera system. That's why I stuck with Nikon, because to me they have the best output out of any camera system, and the D3s does not disappoint. It actually has the best output I have ever seen straight out of camera out of anything. Like, when you look at the rear screen and you look at your files, you're just thinking, wow, these files just came out amazing and they work absolutely insanely well. But a lot of people might be saying, well, it only has 12 megapixels, and that is correct. It does have a 12 megapixel sensor, But to me, it's not really that big of a problem. Like, you can print 20 by 30 photos on 12 megapixels and they'll still come out really, really nicely. But the thing is, a lot of people think that you need more megapixels, and that's just not true. In an age where we have 50 megapixel sensors, 100 megapixel sensors, and so on, that people think that they need more megapixels, but in reality, they really don't need that. And for what I shoot, which is baseball and just everyday sort of stuff, you don't need 12 megapixels even. Like, you don't need high megapixel counts. And that's the thing with the D3s. Like, when I'm transferring images on my computer, it goes by fast and it doesn't take up a lot of storage on my computer, which is a big deal to me. When you're working with 40, 50 megapixel files, it takes up a lot of space on your computer and can be harder to edit. But with 12 megapixel files, it's super easy on your computer and it just lets you do your job. The only real aspect where megapixel count really does become more of a liability rather than an asset is when you're trying to crop. That croppability factor is something that does kind of bother me, but that's a big reason why I have the Z6, and they work well together because I have a 24 megapixel Z6. So when I need the ability to crop, I'm able to do so. But in a baseball situation where a lot of the subjects are very far away, even with my 200 to 500, it is kind of hard to get them completely in the composition that I want. So that is something you kind of have to think about. When I crop down, it crops down to like 8 or 10 megapixels, which isn't too bad. And when you think about what people are really going to be using these files for, is mainly posting on their social media and maybe small 8x11 prints. That's the standard usually when it comes to printing photos. In reality, they don't really need that high of a megapixel count. And for people that are thinking about buying a D3s and worried about the megapixel count, don't be worried at all. You really don't need more than 12 megapixels, but the only thing you should be really looking out for is croppability. You're not going to get that level of croppability relative to, say, something like a Z6, which has 24 megapixels. Other great things that I love about the D3s is that an SLR. I love SLRs. I started off with an SLR as a photographer, and I love the dual card slots. It has dual compact flash cards, and they just work really, really well. Another thing I really love is a vertical battery grip. Integrated vertical battery grips are one of my favorites, and honestly a big reason why I picked up the D3s. I just love how this thing fits in the hand really, really well. Like, the ergonomics of this camera are really, really nice. You can hold it forever, and it actually has really nice balance to it. Like, you think that this thing is huge and heavy, but when you hold it, it doesn't feel that heavy because of its square shape. It doesn't really feel like it's going to one side, or it just feels really like one-sided. It actually has really nice balance to it, which I really love. At the end of the day, this thing is absolutely rugged, reliable, and you know what you're gonna get out of this camera. And I think that's a really big reason why pros love this camera so much, because it's so reliable. People know what they're getting out of it. And that's kind of one thing I really want to iterate. If you don't have trust in your camera, it's really hard to focus on your photography when you're worried about, am I have the right settings? Do I have the right composition? And you have to worry about all these other factors. The Nikon D3s gets out of the way and you just have to shoot. That's really the main thing I love about this camera. And people might think, well, the D3s versus the D3, which one should I get? And the D3s is a successor to the D3, and the only real difference is high ISO performance. The D3s does have better high ISO performance. I shoot at 12,800 consistently and still get great files out of it. Whereas a D3, it can only shoot up to about 6,400 ISO. And that's kind of the main thing that separates the two. Other than that, they're pretty much the same camera. You can put them in the same category, and if you buy a D3 and not really think too much about the high ISO capabilities, then you're going to be just fine with it. But the high ISO capabilities of the D3 are still great, and you should have confidence that they're going to be great. And a big reason why I think I'd rather recommend people to a D3 over a D3s is simply price. The D3 is about $500 to $600 in decent condition, whereas a D3s is about $700 to $800. So unless you find a really good deal on a D3s, I highly recommend people picking up the D3. Pretty much getting the same output, get the same performance, same reliability as a D3s. But for me, I found a great deal on the D3s, and that's mainly why I picked it up. So yeah, that's pretty much my main reasons why I bought a D3s and why you guys should pick one up in 2020. It's an old camera, but it's a great one. It's absolutely timeless, it's reliable, and you know what you're getting out of this camera. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Let me know what your opinions are on the D3s, whether I diagnosed it correctly, give it the right reasonings to buy it. I love this camera to death, and it's a great secondary camera to my Z6. So let me know what y'all think about this camera. Let me know what y'all think about this video down in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.